Boy, I wonder what prompted this topic to land on my desk. WWE really had a hard time making new top stars after that John Cena fellow took off, and a lot of that comes from the company's inability to capitalize on a ready-made star falling in their lap, a problem the company seems to still be suffering from. We may be all of 9 days removed from WrestleMania 39 and the shocking non-coronation of Cody Rhodes, but it is safe to say that the decision and the subsequent sale of WWE paired with the confirmation of Vince McMahon's return haven't filled fans with much hope for Cody's future. But Cody isn't the only one who has felt the moderate heat of WWE's back burner. PFK fans, raise your arms and give me your strength. I'm gonna try and get through this one without losing my will to live as a wrestling fan. Peaceful thoughts. I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are 11 times WWE wasted white-hot stars. But before we get on with this list, make sure of course that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun list just like it, and make sure you check out the 2 new episodes of Survival Series that have hit the airwaves this month here on PFK. Number 11, Damien Mizdow in 2015. I was recently asked on our Patreon mailbag show, subscribe at patreon.com/WrestleTalk, what small wrestling decision still bothers me, and I would still be hard-pressed to find a different answer than Damien Mizdow not defeating The Miz for the right to become The Miz. No one can possibly tell me that Damien Mizdow wouldn't have taken that gimmick further than The Miz has the last 8 years. Maybe Mizdow would have actually brought prestige back to the Intercontinental Championship. After becoming the, at the time, biggest loser in Money in the Bank history, Damien Sandow took on a second career as The Miz's stunt double, which got over more than anyone could have hoped, including WWE themselves. Damien Mizdow became the best comedy act WWE had had in many a year, and WWE just couldn't have that, killing off the duo at WrestleMania 31 after months of teased splits. Mizdow was the runner-up in the Andre Battle Royal, and then got beat by The Miz, ending the feud and the hottest period of Mizdow's career. Number 10, Rusev in 2017. Would you look at that? It's Rusev Day. What was it that Vince McMahon said about the fans' love of Rusev Day? They were chanting it to mock him? Christ almighty, peaceful thoughts, peaceful thoughts. This was right in the thick of when it seemed as if WWE would punish stars for getting over on their own accord. If you weren't told to do it, you better not do it, no matter how loud the people are cheering for you. Rusev was one of WWE's funniest wrestlers, giving us such gems as Handsome Rusev, TV Champion Rusev, and of course, Rusev Day, the holiest of days, celebrated each and every day. The act of Rusev and Aiden English worked better than you would expect and caught fire at Clash of Champions 2017, where the lovely lads challenged for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. WWE don't seem to call audibles very often, but they would have been more than justified had they pulled the trigger on Aiden and Rusev given this incredible response. It's the SmackDown tag titles, it wouldn't have mattered. Instead, WWE seemed inclined to remove the Stone of Shame from Rusev's neck, and instead attach the Stone of Triumph, having him get pinned by Jinder Mahal at WrestleMania 34, get betrayed by Aiden in a storyline that went nowhere, and then turn heel by WrestleMania 35. Happy Rusev Day indeed. Number 9, Cesaro in 2014. Oh, to travel back to early 2014 when Cesaro had only been on the main roster for 2 years, and he was having excellent matches with Sami Zayn at NXT until it was time to split from Jack Swagger at WrestleMania 30. A time where there was still hope. And at WrestleMania 30, what a moment he had! Cesaro won the inaugural Andre the Giant Royal Memorial Battle Memorial, back when there was also hope for that stipulation, in one of the biggest highlights of a pretty darn decent WrestleMania, and people were excited. And then the very next day, WWE cut the knees out from under the babyface run of Cesaro precisely 24 hours in. The very next night on Raw, WWE took a prospective new top babyface star and put him with Paul Heyman. Now, Cesaro and Paul Heyman sounds like a winning pair, but the problem then became WWE never actually followed through with Cesaro's ascent to the main event scene. Cesaro never so much as sniffed a pay-per-view main event until 2021, when he was also quite hot, albeit with no crowd, but even in this case, Cesaro got beat and slipped back down the card. Number 8, Asuka in 2018. As we continue to get into, booking babyfaces has never been WWE's forte. It has been too complicated much of the time, with the company too often relying on beating their heroes like a dusty rug at spring cleaning, resulting in those stars losing their shine like Rey Mysterio in 2006, Sami Zayn in 2016, or Bayley in 2017. Now, how do you fix that problem? Surely a babyface with a huge undefeated streak takes that problem right out of your hands. Asuka arrived on the main roster at TLC 2017, and immediately the vibes were just off compared to her run in NXT. She still won a bunch of matches, but no longer was she an unstoppable force, instead selling for folks like Emma and Nia Jax when she had been killing them in NXT. But it's just a little less over. It's still good. It's still good. She won the Royal Rumble, really the only finish that made sense given the occasion, and all signs pointed to Asuka beating Charlotte at WrestleMania 34 until that very much didn't happen. But she's just a little less undefeated. It's still good. It's still good. But then rather than having that distinction elevate Charlotte, she lost to Carmella twice in a row, and to really hit the point home, Asuka then lost to Carmella twice in a row as well. But she's just a little... oh, it's gone, I know. Number 7, Dolph Ziggler in 2013. Oh, Dolph, it should have been me, Ziggler. At one point, it really should have been you. At a few points, really. The biggest of which, of course, has to be the once greatest Money in the Bank cash-in ever in 2013, where Mr. Ziggles won the World Heavyweight Championship on the Raw after WrestleMania. The moment that had been built up to for 9 months and paid off perfectly, seemingly ready to launch Dolph into the main event scene, and then Dolph got a concussion. Now granted, that is out of WWE's control. What wasn't out of their control, however, was WWE playing this off as comedy, with Dolph forgetting that he had cashed in and then losing to notable prick Alberto Del Rio in his first title defense at Payback. It was Vince's thought that giving Dolph the title was merely the right thing to do for that moment, but he had no intention of giving Dolph the accompanying push. Seems dumb to me, but what's dumber is getting another chance to give Dolph the rub a year later with a fantastic performance at the 2014 Survivor Series, and rather than following that up with any sort of big moment for Dolph, they brought the authority back and fired Dolph in kayfabe a month after his triumph. It should have been you, Dolph. It should have been you. Number 6, Zack Ryder in 2011. Woo woo woo, you blew it, bro. Before Matt Cardona was the self-anointed king of the indies, Zack Ryder was the internet fans' champion. Quite literally, in fact. Look at him with his internet championship. At the start of 2011, Zack Ryder was comfortably the bottom of the WWE roster totem pole. Ryder then took to YouTube and Twitter with his show Z True Long Island Story, which got steadily more and more popular until fans campaigned for him to be featured regularly on TV. He actually did the thing WWE always calls for their stars to do: get themselves over, make their own opportunities, and grab the brass ring. Except they don't actually want that. That is a lie. Ryder managed to win the United States title at TLC 2011, but lost it in short order before being the biggest victim of John Cena's asshole nature, stealing Zack's girlfriend and then striking him while Zack was getting pushed off stages in wheelchairs. Not exactly the main event push WWE fans were clamoring for. The magic was gone for Ryder after this, as he went back to being routinely beaten into powder by the actual stars that WWE were interested in promoting. Number 5, The Nexus in 2010. Lord above, John Cena does not come out of this list looking good, does he? Yeah, it turns out that when WWE was looking to waste one of their white-hot stars, feeding them to John Cena was their go-to move. In the case of The Nexus, their debut was the high point of Raw in 2010, giving WWE their big summertime angle. Wade Barrett and his band of merry men were due for a major win at SummerSlam, but John Cena quite literally said, "That doesn't work for me, brother." The Nexus went from being the biggest invading force WWE had had since The Invasion to John Cena's verbal punching bags in one night. Cena beat them decisively at SummerSlam and then went on Raw the next night, calling them names, comparing them to fast food mascots, and he may as well have looked right down the lens of the camera and told WWE fans never to take these men seriously again. And really, they didn't. The Nexus storyline went down as one of the biggest missed opportunities in the company's history, and it didn't have to be this way. They could have just beaten Cena at SummerSlam. Like, why was that so hard? Number 4, The Fiend in 2019. For the first match of a new character, you can't ask for a much better showing than The Fiend's match with Finn Balor at SummerSlam 2019. I would know. I was there. The Fiend's invincibility worked perfectly into this one-sided debut match, and a strong win and bone-chilling entrance combined for a great introduction for a new and intriguing top star on Raw. And then WWE decided to immediately book him in a Universal title match that they didn't want him to win. Why did they do this? Well, I can't tell you because I don't know. This was WWE in 2019 after all, not the time in which they were making their smartest decisions. Hell in a Cell 2019 was the site of maybe the worst main event in WWE history, effectively killing off the runs of Seth Rollins, The Fiend, the Hell in a Cell stipulation, and pretty much all interest in the main event scene of Raw. A terrible feud with The Miz and a speedy loss to Goldberg did not help matters for all Fiendy Pops, but it further proved that WWE really didn't have a plan for their new top star after the first night. Number 3, Daniel Bryan in 2018. How is it possible that WWE took a returning Daniel Bryan, the biggest potential babyface star they could ever ask for in 2018, fresh off a 2-year retirement, and put him in a months-long feud with Big Cass. Daniel Bryan being able to wrestle again was a dream come few for wrestling fans of all walks of life, and it would have required great restraint not to simply put him in the main event of WrestleMania 34 and win the Universal title immediately, but hot dog did they ever go in the opposite direction. Instead, Bryan teamed up with Shane McMahon in the second best McMahon tag match of the night to face Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. On paper, a good pairing, but the match started with an attack from the heels, taking Bryan out of the match until the finish and taking the air out of the building. But again, one match to ease Bryan back in, understandable. Why they then chose Big Bill to be Bryan's next feud, I will never know. Bryan's momentum continued to slow throughout the year with an underwhelming feud with The Miz before only reaching the top of the card again by turning heel. The biggest possible babyface, forced to turn heel in order to be booked well. For shame, WWE. Number 2, CM Punk in 2011. Now I know there will be people who will be quick to say that CM Punk got a 434-day title reign out of his 2011, and you would be right. However, it is impossible to look at the summer of Punk circa 2011 as the success that it should have been. After the all-time classic Money in the Bank main event that saw CM Punk hightail it out of Chicago with the WWE Championship in hand, he was the biggest deal WWE had had in a very long while. And then WWE followed that up by closing out their next 4 straight pay-per-views with CM Punk having been pinned and beaten. By the time he won the WWE Championship back at Survivor Series, the uptick in interest caused by CM Punk's pipe bomb and subsequent title win had all but depleted. It was supposed to be the summer of Punk. Instead, it was about the 3 weeks of Punk before WWE's terrible booking tendencies reared their ugly heads. Seriously, what part of that Money in the Bank program screamed, "This needs more Kevin Nash" to y'all? Baffling stuff, but not as baffling as number 1, Cody Rhodes in 2023. Now, I will preface this one by saying that there is still time for Cody Rhodes to be saved following his WrestleMania 39 loss to Roman Reigns. However, boy was that ever the right time to pull the trigger. I watched the closing sequence of Owens hitting the stunner, Sami hitting the haluva kick, and Cody hitting the bionic elbow and crossroads, and you can argue about adversity all you want, but I don't know that you will ever find a more perfect ending to the Roman Reigns run of dominance than that moment. Cody Rhodes was white hot, peaking at the perfect moment, and WWE elected not to pull the trigger after all. There is still every chance that it could pay off in the long run, but given that Roman isn't scheduled to work Backlash, it really does sort of feel like stat padding at this point in an attempt to get him to 1,000 days as champion. A stat that didn't need to be padded at the sacrifice of the story being told. Cody may stay as over as he had been. Hell, Sami got a big moment for himself at WrestleMania after everything was said and done, but the main event of WrestleMania 39, as of this moment, does unfortunately feel like one of the biggest wastes of a white-hot star in WWE history. And that's our list. I mostly kept it calm throughout that one, but you know, couple moments there. Make sure, of course, that you check out the latest episode of Survival Series that went up, naming every single WWE WrestleMania main event. No shenanigans on this episode.
It's smeared with shenanigans. I haven't got my 3 strikes.
You don't need them, list man.
Don't worry about it. It's a perfectly ordinary episode of Survival Series, guys.